welcome to your weekend warm-up ahead of the British Grand Prix, and we are back where it all began, and by that, of course, I mean Formula One, and we are holding umbrellas, gentlemen, because we are hoping to ward off the rain during this weekend warm-up. Will Buxton, Lawrence Barretto with me. Pessimism right from the off.
Well, I live 20 minutes down the road. It's going to bucket down. I mean, it's like being back in Canada, isn't it?
It's spitting a little bit. Nothing too heavy at the moment, though, but this could spell a few surprises if it continues into the weekend, Lawrence.
Oh, it could do. I mean, last time I predicted it wasn't going to rain, it tipped it down in Canada, so I'm not going to say anything about that. But I think the weekend, as it goes on, is going to look a little bit sunnier, which is good news for the fans, because I've camped here at Silverstone before in the rain, and it's not that much fun.
And you brought your picnic blanket as well, mate, which is really
Oh,
nice.
a low blow.
I knew you were so excited to mention that. I knew it.
I think it's fabulous. You're coordinating. What more could we ask for? Actually, I could ask for one more thing.
Oh. What a segue. I love it.
Well, you know, it's what I do.
Time.
It's sometimes what I do. I wasn't in Canada, so you know the drill. I want to find out what happened in Montreal. It's your 60-second wrap from Lawrence Barretto. Are you ready?
I feel I've got a lot of pressure.
Talk about being under pressure. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Max Verstappen started on pole, held off Fernando Alonso, but Fernando Alonso could not hold off Carlos Sainz, who passed him a few laps later. When Sergio Perez retired, the virtual safety car came out that allows Max to pit. That put Sainz into the lead. Then when the next virtual safety car came out for Mick Schumacher, that put Verstappen back in the lead when Sainz pitted. It was all looking like it was all going pretty smoothly for Verstappen. Then there was another virtual safety car because Yuki Tsunoda crashed right at turn 1 as he was coming out of the pit lane. That meant that Carlos Sainz pitted again. He had fresher tyres, he gave chase to Max Verstappen, but couldn't find a way past, and it finished Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton on the podium.
Nicely done.
Nicely done.
Now, we'll find out when we watch this back, if we watch this back, how you did.
It's definitely
I
within.
think that was great. Yeah,
Don't
and even under pressure from this one, staring you
I
out
mean,
for the whole thing.
You normally get the rest of the 10 in, but
I normally do, but I shunted massively in Baku, and I
You
didn't want that to happen again because you put me under
you
that
didn't shunt as
pressure.
bad as I did. It's why they don't ask me to do it anymore.
Well, don't worry,
I was
we've
terrible
got
at
through it. We have got through it. Well, here we are at Silverstone, and in the lead up to the race, we've all been excited for going racing here once more, but the spotlight has been on the sport for a very unfortunate reason. 3-time world champion and Brazilian driver Nelson Piquet, referring to Sir Lewis Hamilton using a racially offensive term earlier on, actually over a year ago now, at the end of 2021, describing the incident between Max Verstappen and Sir Lewis Hamilton. As you would expect, Formula One, the FIA, and the teams and drivers up and down the paddock, and the paddock in its entirety, has condemned the actions of Nelson Piquet. He has since issued an apology, and Lewis has responded accordingly. Here he is speaking in this afternoon's press conference.
I'm incredibly grateful to all those that have been supportive within the sport, particularly the drivers. I mean, I've been on the receiving end of racism and criticism and, you know, that negativity and archaic narratives for a long, long time, you know, and undertones of discrimination. So there's nothing really particularly new for me. I think it's more about the bigger picture. I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know why we are continuing to give these older voices a platform, because they are, they're speaking upon our sport, and we're looking to go somewhere completely different, and it's not representative, I think, of who we are as a sport now and where we're planning to go. If we're looking to grow in the US and other countries, South Africa, and grow our audience, we need to be looking to the future and giving the younger people a platform that are more representative of today's time and to who we are trying to be and in the direction that we're going. So it's not just about one individual, it's not about just that one use of that term, it's the bigger picture.
Let's turn our attention back to the weekend at hand, because we've got an exciting British Grand Prix lined up, I am certain of it. Perhaps an opportunity for the team over our shoulders, Mercedes, bringing some upgrades this weekend.
Yep.
Are they going to be enough to put Lewis Hamilton and George Russell right up there to please the home crowd?
They're hoping so. And James Allison in the week was saying they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves, but there's a very good vibe at the factory. They put a lot of work, a lot of effort into ensuring that they bring the upgrades this weekend, which if not putting them at the front of the field, will certainly get them closer to and hopefully into that fight between Ferrari and Red Bull for the top step of the podium. And, look, we've seen Mercedes take podiums this year when it hasn't necessarily gone Red Bull or Ferrari's way. George Russell with an incredible run of consistent fifth-place finishes as well. Rain's now coming down a little bit harder.
You've proofed your jacket.
Not yet. This will be the proof of the jacket. But yeah, no, the team really hopeful that this is the weekend that things start to turn around and they get back up to where they hope they've been since the start of the year.
It's strange coming to Silverstone with Lewis Hamilton not a championship contender and perhaps not even a podium contender this weekend. What are you feeling amongst the fans that you've seen? What you've seen of the team so far? Are they feeling confident?
Yeah, I think there's an underlying confidence there that they feel like if the upgrades, thanks, Will,
thank
I'll
you,
try
sir.
and hobble under here as well.
Thank you.
I think if they can get the most out of the car early doors Friday practice, kind of get a good understanding of where the car is. George, when talking to him in the pen earlier today, I think he feels quietly confident about things. Not just because he's got the momentum, but I think because the team have been saying good things about this update generally for a long time. Don't forget these things have been in the pipeline for a long time, so the simulations are looking positive. Yeah, I'm with Will. I think they're going to be in the mix this weekend, and when you've got that extra Lewis factor, who knows, he could be in the fight for the win.
Yeah, he's got 400,000 fans, supposedly. That's what we're expecting this weekend,
Yeah,
cheering him on. Could that be the missing ingredient? And I know what you say about George. He says excited and intrigued.
Yes.
Well, I'm intrigued to see if those upgrades pay off. And we walk a little further down the paddock, outside Red Bull, of course, championship leaders. 1-2 as well for Max and Sergio at the moment, at the top of the drivers' standings. What do we expect from them this weekend? Because we had that reliability issue in Canada, the gearbox issue for Checo. Have they put in enough work in the sort of weekend off to remedy some of those reliability little foibles?
I mean, they've got to be hoping
Shall
so.
I hold it for you now? I feel like I should.
No, you don't have to do that, mate. Oh, you
I'll
can
do
do
it.
that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, look, it's not the work of a moment, is it? But I think the team will be buoyed by the consistency they've shown this year, by how they've fought back from the disappointing start that they had and those DNFs that they had. Max is on just impeccable form right now, and Checo's driving beautifully as well. Obviously hugely disappointed with the result in Canada, but they've got a few upgrades as well. And let's not forget that on the tracks where top speed is of the essence, and the ones with the the big sort of straight lines and the big straights, Red Bull have been the team to beat. It's been Ferrari that have been quick in the corners, it's been Red Bull that have been fast in the straights, and this track is what, 75-80% full throttle? It could be a Red Bull circuit.
Yeah, it could be very interesting. And I
I'll
spoke
take
to,
that again,
thank
mate.
you, can't multitask, brain and hands can't go at the same time. I spoke to Checo earlier and he said if it rains you will see something different on the car, but if it's dry we won't. So maybe it's just a normal setup change. And he was getting me intrigued and excited. Word of the warm-up. Then we move to Ferrari. They're just coming into view here. Charles Leclerc, sort of seemingly confident, got that obviously fairly fresh PU in the back of the car, just for reliability, not for performance, of course. But feeling like he just needs a nice clean weekend, and he just needs that top step of the podium, doesn't he? Because he's sort of sampled everything else here at Silverstone, but just not the top.
Yeah, third, second for Charles in British Grand Prix. He loves it round here. He seems very strong here, and he's not really had a car that's been capable of getting those kind of positions over the last few years. So I think from that perspective, coming into this year, I think that's why he's so confident, because they've got a car that is performing very strongly. They just got to get it reliable, and that engine's done one race now, so they've got to be reasonably confident it's in good shape. And I think they should be pretty strong around here. I think them and Red Bull are going to be very, very close.
Yeah, well, it's going to be exciting, as we're already hearing.
Yeah.
Let's hear now from Charles Leclerc.
You finished second, third here the last 3 British Grand Prix. What is it about this place that you seem to enjoy so much?
I don't know, I love it. Obviously second and third, second, third, or second, third?
Third, second, so.
Alright, that's fine. Yeah, we just need the first place now. But I really like this place, and obviously considering the last 3 times we came here, it wasn't the best car to fight for this position, so it was a pretty good result. But this year we've got a car to fight for wins, so yeah, we'll go for the win.
Obviously got a power unit that's only 1 race old, and power is so important around here. Generally, are you optimistic even with the threat of Mercedes bringing upgrades? Red Bull have been a threat all year.
I mean, this doesn't give me any extra confidence in performance, but in reliability, yes. Because in performance, there's nothing new on this power unit compared to the other one, so it's not like I've got much, more power. But yeah, obviously it's a fresh engine, so hopefully no problems. A clean weekend that we are missing since before Barcelona, which was Miami, I think. So it's been a long time. So now hopefully we can have a good weekend and finally get the win.
Charles Leclerc, obviously buoyed coming into this weekend, rates his chances, but what sort of setup are they going to be running here, especially with this rain now?
If it's raining, as we've been saying, probably not the same as they will in the dry, clearly. But they will be buoyed because of the performance that Charles showed driving from the back in Canada. Of course, he had that trimmed out, slimmer rear wing, which gave them a straight line speed advantage, and that's what they will need here, obviously, down these long blasts at Silverstone. So I think had Carlos had that in Canada, might it have been a different story? Who knows?
Who knows?
But ultimately, big upgrade on that Ferrari with the rear wing. But they're not the only team. Alpine also with a massive upgrade package this weekend, and more upgrades to come in Austria in a week's time as well. So big moves going on down at Alpine too. Yeah,
and of course we saw such a stellar performance from Fernando Alonso in qualifying in Montreal. And I think probably at the beginning of the season, Alpine would have rated their chances on a track like this. But of course they've been upgrading it and developing it, and so actually it goes quite well at all circuits now. But Fernando knows how to win around this track. Esteban's had some great results around this track as well. What are you expecting from them this weekend?
Yeah, Esteban's been super consistent this year. I don't think he would have thought he'd have double the number of points of Fernando by this point in the season. And he's been the one who's really been getting the job done on a Sunday afternoon. Fernando's been great on a Saturday, hasn't really carried it through into Sunday when it matters. I think that, like Will said, the big upgrade here, the fact that they've consistently brought upgrades this year and they genuinely have worked, has got to be super positive. They're punching for the top of the midfield at the minute. And at the moment, it's looking like they're in a great shape to achieve that feat.
Yeah, definitely. And just behind us, AlphaTauri, obviously keen to be in that midfield battle. And big news, of course, Pierre Gasly sticking with the team for next year. Were you surprised by that move, Will?
A little bit. I mean, Franz Tost said he's got a contract for next year, which everyone took to mean he's definitely racing for AlphaTauri next year, which wasn't necessarily the case because he had a get-out clause in case a team higher up the order had wanted to call on his services. Pierre had the ability to go and talk to them. But Pierre has now confirmed, I will be back with AlphaTauri for 2023. That option is now off the table, so he will be back. And he loves this team, He has a victory with them. He wants to be fighting back up at the front with them. And I spoke to him earlier today, having seen some sort of words from him in the press earlier in the week, where he said, I have nightmares about the sheer number of points that we've lost this year. And I put it to him, I was like, actual nightmares, like waking up in a cold sweat? And he's like, yeah, genuine, like actual nightmares about how many points we've lost. Franz said, just pull a couple of wins back in the second half of the season and that'll pay for it.
Easy peasy.
But I mean, look, they know they've got a much better car than their results, their place in the championship, and their points ultimately show.
Yeah, well, that means there could be some good things coming their way, and that mission that he's sort of spelled out with the team is to get the team back to the top. What do you think that actually means in real terms, Lawrence?
I think it's bare minimum P5 in the Constructors' Championship,
which
is what they've been always.
Yeah.
That's what he's aiming for. But I think that the way he's talking, he wants regular podiums, and if they're doing that, then they're probably punching at the top of the midfield, P3, P4. It's a big task for AlphaTauri when you've got this sister team at Red Bull kind of wanting to punch right up at the top, and they won't want them to get that close. But look, Pierre's there, like Will said, he loves it there, and if that can bring the best out of him, there's no reason why he can't get a string of results out there if the car is reliable and they make the most operationally of all of the race weekends.
Well, could it be this weekend that it comes good for Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri? Let's hear what he's been saying. I think he was talking to you a little earlier on. Here he is.
Pierre, I read some comments from you in the week that said you have nightmares about the number of points that you guys have lost this season. Are they actual sort of physically manifested nightmares that you wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night?
Pretty much. That's how much bad luck we kind of had in the start of the year. I mean, it's true pretty much on many occasions didn't come our way, and we were actually just talking about it with friends, and friends was suggesting that we should win at least 2 races this season to balance all the bad luck we had since the start of the year. But no, it's part of the sport. Sometimes virtual safety car, it's a mechanical sport, so we have a couple of issues there, and sometimes out of our control, sometimes from ourselves. But at the end of the day, you just got to focus on what you can do inside the car, inside the team, and always try to do our job perfectly. And we obviously know at some point it's gonna pay off. It worked in Baku. Didn't in Montreal, but now we get 2 more races in the next 2 weekends, so 2 more opportunities.
Having such a positive foundation, how much does that help coming into each weekend to be able to turn that page from the disappointments?
I think it's important just to be objective about the performance that we have, be aware of the situation and the stuff we need to work on. And yeah, it's a very tight midfield, so you know 1 or 2 tenths can get you up and down the order very quickly. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's we can't control what others are doing. Just our job, and yeah, you can always do better. So we'll try to clearly put things together and do a better job this weekend.
As you say, you can only control what you're doing, and what you're doing is staying with the team for another year into 2023. How meaningful is that? How important is that to be able to allow you to just focus on the remainder of this year and into 23?
Well, it's great. We have 18 months to maximize and get as many podiums and hopefully other win with the team, because that's obviously the target. This team gave me my first chance in Formula One. I've had my first win with them. I've had fantastic races with them, and now we know we have it's set in the stone. Is that how you say it in English? That we're gonna spend this next 18 months together, and I'll do everything I can to make it as successful as possible.
Another team keen to get involved with the midfield battle, I think, is Aston Martin, and of course their factory's just over the road. So, oh hello, what happened there? Did I have a little shunt there with you?
Did you shunt?
I'm not sure.
We got
reliability issues.
Or it was a massive hailstone that just came out of nowhere.
Oh, we'll continue.
Let's keep going.
So Aston Martin, obviously home race just across the road on Dadford Road. A few upgrades for them this weekend. I know both of you spoke to either one of the drivers. You had a chat with Lance. How's he feeling? Chat, yeah.
I mean,
20
Lance
seconds.
was as optimistic as he can be in 30 seconds of 3 questions. I think he is hopeful that they've been finding performance weekend in, weekend out, and that he hopes that continues. But I reckon Will's probably got a more substantial report from Sebastian.
Short and sweet from Stroll, but Sebastian Vettel, I assume in good spirits.
Yeah, very good spirits. Spoke very eloquently about what you touched on at the start, how the paddock has obviously come together to support Lewis and his sort of feelings on that, and where the world really sort of needs to be in terms of respecting people, and as Lewis termed it, archaic views which have no place in society. But in terms of the car for this weekend, really optimistic. You can see his eyes light up when he was talking about it and the upgrade package that they've got on there. Also talking about the factory, which every time you drive past that factory, it just gets further and further towards completion, and it's all part of this project. There's a lot of talk that Seb's going to quit at the end of the year, walk away from the sport. But the
Did
way
you
he was
get that in his eyes today?
No, the way he was talking today about where the team is headed, the positivity that exists within it, the new factory, the upgrades on the car, that's a Seb who's still got that fire inside him, and I think believes in the team and where it can go. But most excitingly for Seb, he gets to drive Nigel Mansell's FW14B on Sunday, and it's the car that Seb actually bought himself. Of course, he drives the number 5 car. He will drive the red number 5 in front of the Silverstone faithful on Sunday, and it being Seb's car, he's retuned it, refitted it in order to be able to run a sort of a carbon neutral
Sustainable fuel.
That's
So
cool.
he's super excited about that, and he said the fans won't even know the difference. It will still scream, it will still roar, it will still give everyone the goosebumps, and he can't wait to take it out on track. He said no matter what else happens to his weekend, no matter if the upgrade package works or not, he knows he can look forward to Sunday because he's going to get to drive that car.
That's bucket list territory.
Isn't it?
Sustainable fuels, of course, another nod to the future from Seb Vettel, going sustainable in 2026 with the sustainable fuel, and then 2030 carbon zero. Well, the rain is coming down. We've spoken about Aston Martin still kind of getting to grips with that new iteration of car, and I think McLaren are also in that boat. I think still trying to understand where the performance comes from with that car, and I think Daniel Ricciardo loves coming here. I think the home crowd is exciting, but you're kind of here to race, aren't you? So you need to be assured that the performance is coming.
Yeah, I think Daniel's really turned things around over the last couple of races. I know that obviously he didn't get points in Canada, but from a personal perspective, he seems to be building some momentum. But what he was trying to point out, I think, in the TV pen today was that they need a car that's strong enough, and at the moment they haven't got the most out of it. They're not extracting the maximum from it, and before they pile on upgrades, he wants to get the best out of it, and it makes a lot of sense.
That's the kind of Haas territory, isn't it? Squeeze the performance out of what we got, then add.
And they're going to have to, because they've admitted this week they will not be bringing an upgrade package, a major upgrade package, for the rest of the year. This is it. This is what they've got. So similar to what Haas has been doing for the first half of the season, this is it. Make the most of it. Learn, adapt, develop within what you have, because those big leaps forward are just not going to happen. They've already switching the focus to 23. and using this year's car. This is their base. This is all they've got for the rest of the season with over half a year to go.
Yeah, pretty frustrating when you know the problem, but there are no overnight fixes. Well, you spoke to
I did.
home hero Lando Norris, so let's hear what he had to say.
Lando, racing on home soil in front of a capacity crowd. How much are you looking forward to it?
Hugely. I'm super happy to be back. Another home race. So after last year, the only thing I've really been looking forward to is coming back to Silverstone and doing it all over again. Just hopefully a little bit better. But we'll see. Just being back in England, being back at home with the crowds that we're going to have, record number of crowds I think it's going to be for a 3-day event, is pretty amazing. So hopefully a lot of British flags, Norris signs, whatever. I look forward to it all.
News in the week from the team that there won't be any major upgrades for the rest of this season. How difficult will that make the remaining, more than half a season for you guys?
It's tough. I mean, it's already tough now, but there's still things we can optimise and change around and play with on the car. So it's not like we've given up in any way. We're still working very hard. The team are still working very hard, and there's still things we're going to be able to bring. It's just nothing that's going to change the whole car, So we'll see. We still got a lot of opportunities to move forward, and there's still a very long season ahead of us. So we'll continue to keep digging away and trying to find little things and keeping in the best position that we need to be, because we're still in a good position in the championship and so on. So we still want to maintain that, and we'll be doing everything we can to do it.
Is it about focusing on 23 for the team now, or is it, as you say, very much about taking this package, focusing on what you can get and finding, having that baseline and being able to consistently improve what you have with it, your understanding and pace?
It's both. Like I said, we're not giving up in any way on this season, and we want to still remain in fourth in the constructors at a minimum. Although it's a very big gap to go anywhere more than fourth. We don't want to lose out to the guys behind. So we therefore still need to keep working on this year a huge amount. Especially over the last few races, we've not been ahead of our main competitors. Alpine have looked extremely strong lately. They've got a lot of new things for this weekend apparently, and for next weekend, from what Fernando said. So I'm sure it's going to be tough. But the whole year's been tough at the minute, and some things go away, some things don't. But we'll try optimizing everything. But there is always that line where you got to switch a little bit of the focus to the following year and start looking at that. But we have teams on that, we have people on it already, but the main focus is still on this year.
Weather update, still raining.
Still raining.
Just in case you were wondering. Right, let's talk about Haas, Mick
Yes.
Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen. Kevin obviously raced here several times, so knows the drill. Mick as well. But any sign of these developments that we were promised? Was it France that we're thinking?
It wasn't. It's been pushed back to Hungary,
Oh.
apparently. So still waiting on that, but still maximising the package. I mean, look at how well they did in Canada. Equalled their best ever qualifying result as a team. Ultimately didn't work out for them. Team's pretty furious with the fact that Kev got given the meatball flag because they thought that the damage on the front wing really wasn't sufficient enough to merit that. They say the FIA needs to be in better communication with the teams, because there's 2 races in a row now, first with Yuki in Baku, then with Kev in Canada, where ultimately issues which probably wouldn't necessitate a meatball flag saw a meatball flag being shown, the black and orange flag. Right? We call it a meatball flag because it's the orange. It's the orange circle in the middle of the black flag.
Making me hungry.
That calls the driver in to have an issue fixed, and both teams were like, yeah, but actually that normally you wouldn't call a driver in for those. So what's going on? The teams, particularly Haas, want the FIA to talk to them more before they throw that meatball flag. But they also know, they've got issues with the PU in the back. They've got issues from a technical perspective with that Ferrari unit that they need to get on top of. So yeah, work to be done, but more streamlining at the team. Pete Kroller is now team manager at the team. I had a chat with him this afternoon, so his responsibilities have widened over not just sort of the sporting side, but now the operations side of the team as well. So little tweaks here and there, and they're still getting the feel of the car. But when they put it all together, they can pull out decent top 10 results in that. They just need the races to start going their way.
4 meatballs. That's almost a main course.
Yeah, less meatballs.
No, I like it. Okay, so Williams, they're also slightly streamlining the work, I think, this week, with Alex Albon with the upgrade and Nicky Latifi without it. What are they trying to work out? Obviously, if it works, but by not running it on both? I guess they just didn't have the upgrade
Yeah,
ready.
I think in an ideal world they would have had an upgrade for both cars, but in the push to just make sure they got it ready and at least have something for their home race, they managed to put it on Alex's car. And Alex has been the stronger of the two drivers this year, so you want to give it to the driver who could potentially get the most out of it. Unfortunate for Nicky, but he'll get it as soon as they can get it. From what I'm hearing, in qualifying trim on certain tracks it can be as much as a second. I mean, let's not forget that other teams are going to be bringing significant upgrades and they're going to move ahead as well. But if they can kind of get into the realm of being able to get out of Q2 consistently without Alex pushing, having to outdrive that car, I think that's a good step from Williams, because it's been a difficult start to the year. They're really struggling still with not having had a mule car to test the tyres last year. So if they can turn things around there, Alex has been 12th and 13th, I think, in the last couple of races, outdriving the car again. So he could be an outside bet, for a point here.
And both drivers consider this, of course, their home race. Alex, British Thai driver, and Nicky Latifi telling me earlier, he's lived in London for a good spell of time now, so he sees this as a home race. And of course, it's the Williams team's home race as well. So let's hear what Alex Albon had to say to Lawrence a little earlier on.
No, I'm really happy. I think it's been a while since we've had a proper upgrade to the car. There's been other teams maybe falling out of touch with us, just pulling away from us a little bit. So with this new upgrade comes a little bit of excitement, and hopefully we can get back into the Q2s and things like that.
You've been close to the points in the last couple of races, and
Yes.
It hasn't kind of worked out. Operationally, the team seem to be working pretty well, and with this upgrade, I guess that gives you optimism for the races to come.
Exactly that. It feels like we've been finishing P12, P13, and maybe on paper that doesn't look amazing, but truthfully speaking, with the pace that we have right now, I don't see it as a bad result. We've been optimising most races, and we've been on the fringes of points, which, otherwise speaking, I wouldn't say we've always been there in pace. We're always, more towards the back half of the field. So it's optimistic to know that we have this upgrade coming. And if you think about it like that, however many tenths a lap it will bring, hopefully that will put us closer to the guys in front.
Last but not least, Alfa Romeo, who have got a team mascot. What are we calling this?
An inflatable seahorse. I think they're expecting it to...
Seahorse boat.
Yeah, seahorse boat. I think they're expecting it to rain a lot more.
Say what you see.
It's just finished. Just finished raining for now.
It has, just a few little drops. And actually, you can see blue sky a little way off, which
Don't jinx
hopefully...
it.
Well, I'm just thinking of the campers out there.
Yeah.
They want to dry
Oh,
off.
yeah,
They want to
exactly.
dry off. You don't want to be soggy to start, do you? Let's talk about the chances for the team this weekend. A sensitive car, a fragile car. We have seen that throughout the season thus far. What do you reckon? Is this a circuit where they're going to get on top of that? We're going to see both cars out early doors on Friday.
So I think on paper this is a circuit that they might struggle with, but there's been a number of times this year where they've kind of performed across a variety of circuits, and I think the encouraging thing for Alfa Romeo at the minute is Valtteri was talking about they've got some cooling fixes for the problems that have afflicted them recently. They've got some better quality control back at the factory to try and get on top of those niggles that you mentioned, which have kept Valtteri out of most Friday practices this year, and that's really put him on the back foot heading into the weekend. And he's still gone and turned in good results. So I think if they can kind of start to get on top of that and hit the ground running from Friday practice early doors, especially for Joe, I think, because it's still his rookie year, let's not forget. And when he's had a smooth weekend like he had in Canada, he was able to get points at the end of it. And I think that's what he's kind of hoping that he can do this weekend again.
Well, I'm excited for Joe because he's been really looking forward to racing an F1 car on this track. Obviously, had experience in the junior categories. You thought we'd lost Will Buxton. Never.
I can't find Sam.
He's on a treasure hunt. What have you found?
Me, apparently.
Sam Collins, F1's tech analyst. Well, what have you found, more to the point, Sam? Because this is a track that the teams are bringing upgrades to. What are we looking out for?
Just about everything. There's so many interesting new bits on the cars. Will's talked about quite a few of them already. But the team that are jumping out at me at the moment is Mercedes. I've looked at the team are telling me that they've bought some interesting things. I've seen a new rear wing on the car. I think there's some more bits on it. But the team are quite excited. There's a sparkle in their eye, if you like, about what they're going to have. And I just think, I don't know, is this the race that they've staged that big comeback that we've expected? I think it possibly might be.
Oh, some optimism for the Silver Arrows. And just this track, why is it one that they want to bring the upgrades to?
Well, for some teams, like Aston Martin, it's just a few hundred metres from the factory to the paddock. For other teams, it's a few kilometres. But the nature of the circuit is one of those that it gives you repeatable testing results. You know what you're going to get with Silverstone, which is inclement weather but a really smooth circuit, and a circuit layout that doesn't change too much year on year. But the other factor is we've just been on this run of really unusual races. They're a bit odd, quite frankly. I mean, you started with Imola, which is a strange circuit for Formula One. It's got high curves. It doesn't really feel like any other circuit. Then you've got all the street circuits, the temporary circuits, all the way up to Canada. So the only really repeatable circuit we've had is Barcelona, and that's where we saw loads of upgrades. And Mercedes were very strong there. Their car worked with that track surface. Coming here, loads of teams have bought those new bits. Later in the season, they've understood the cars a bit better, they've bought those new parts, and I think more of those new parts will start delivering results. Now, who will get it right, who will get it wrong? We can see people get it wrong. Hopefully, some of the teams like Williams will have that magic bullet that they've been looking for.
Oh, exciting. So plenty to watch out for. Lots for the teams and drivers to be understanding in Friday's practice sessions. Lots of challenges here with the circuit alone. Add into that the weather. Got a recipe for an exciting British Grand Prix, as always. But now, it is that time of the show. We've run out of money on the jingle.
We need
Sorry.
a jingle, don't we? Yeah.
I'm going to do predictions. Who would like to go first? Last one in, first one. There we go.
All right, I'm going to predict. I'm going to go wild. It's going to be a victory for the hometown hero, the local driver, Lewis Hamilton from down the road in Stevenage. He's going to win this Grand Prix from George Russell, but it's going to be a bit lively between the two of them. Max Verstappen is going to be third. Ferrari are not going to feature in a big way.
So Mercedes 1-2, and then
Wow.
Max Verstappen. Okay.
I'm going to go with the Max win. Then I'm going to go with a George P2 and a Lewis P3.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Okay, I like that. Then Lawrence, where are you going?
I'm going for a Charles win. I'm going for a George P2, and I'm going for a Lewis P3.
Okay, and I'm going to go for a Charles win, a George P2, and a Max P3.
Ooh.
So many combinations. That none of them are coming true. So
Do not put your money on any of that.
exactly. Do get in touch with what you think might happen this weekend. Guys, thank you so much for your input,
Thank
your
you.
analysis, as always, and thank you to you for your company as well. We'll be here all weekend. Goodbye.